know what they are.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good to see you all today. I'm going to let Steve do the rundown because I tried to do it last week and I think I missed about half the people.
Well, I miss everybody anyway. Well, we'll start off with, it's Gail. She always says, why do you always say, oh, no, it's Gail. She's just going to be watching everybody. Good morning, Gail. We got John, Schuylkill River Valley. How are you doing? Stephen Witwag. We got Digger, John Grandpa Rails. My buddy Bernard. Hey, Bernard, we need to get you on the show. We were just talking about you. We got Steve Anderson. Good morning, Steve. We got Roy Hardwick, Container Man. How are you, Roy? Rob T-Man. And we've got Tammy and Ray. Good morning to you. Mike's Deep Run Railroad. Good morning. Dave DES Multimedia. Thank you for being on the show last week. I missed out on that one. That was a really good show. Who else did I miss? I think.
Did you get Mark Pruitt?
I didn't see Mark. Good morning.
Mark's in here.
Okay, I didn't see Mark.
Steve Anderson's here.
I got Steve.
You got Steve? Okay.
And John Tanzillo. We got Allison. Good morning, Allison.
Roy. Allison, I didn't see Allison come in.
Almar. Good morning.
Oh, there it is. Mine's just now updating.
Yeah, see, mine. I have a lag on mine. But anyway, good morning, guys.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. We don't have a subject as usual. And we don't have a guest, so we'll have a good time today. Like we have every week, or at least I always have a good time. But Steve's been adding some stuff to his caboose, some detail to the inside of his caboose. So we're going to show you some pictures, or try to show you some pictures.
Yeah, I'm out of control.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that up. You guys talk about something while I'm looking.
We could talk about what we're doing. Let's see. Where are you at, Roy Hardwick? Are you at home? Or are you out driving?
He posted a video this morning. I think should have given away where he was at.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. I think he did anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm going to be taking it out week from
Deming,
tomorrow.
New Mexico is where he was at. I don't know. I guess he could post the video later. Maybe he wasn't there at the time, but Deming, New Mexico is what his video was.
Why would you want to go? What's in New Mexico?
Says he's home.
A lot of dirt.
I could be a guest. I am a guest.
Hey, good morning, Anthony. We got Anthony, George Sunbelt. How are you? Popped in.
Okay. Let's see if I can do this here. You'd think I'd have this down by now on how to do these.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah, what are you trying to do?
I'm trying to show the pictures. Steve's pictures.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, I could get my phone, try to show you. Oh, my copy.
What is that made out of? Is that, did you buy that or did you?
No, it's no, I made that. I turned the main body of it with a wood dowel on my metal lathe, and the handle is just a little strip piece of brass that I glued to it, and the spout is just a piece of wood that I carved to.
I'll tell you, man, you're really creative.
That is really nice.
So how big is that? Like inch tall?
I'll get it out and I'll show you. It's maybe a little over an inch. I figure if you make it, why buy it?
Yeah. Now, when you make these little things, Steve, are you actually doing it to scale or are you doing it by eye?
Kind of by eye.
So you didn't go out and measure a real prototype, figure out what the actual size was, and then, because that's what I'd be doing, but that's just me.
What I thought
you'd be doing that.
The little torpedoes are definitely not to scale. They are definitely bigger than they would be in real life.
So those would blow the wheels off a real train, huh?
Yeah, well, they would fit in the palm of your hand, and the ones I've got are definitely big. But it gives the illusion of.
But that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Creating an illusion.
Okay.
show us the broom. Show us the
Hang on,
broom.
hang on. Well, Steve can show you the broom right there in the camera.
Yeah, I just made the broom this morning.
Does it work?
I don't know. I've never tried it. Well, here let me flip this around.
Are you going to make a little dude too?
A little dude.
We've
Yeah.
been trying to get him to get a G.I. Joe and a bark.
Yeah. Well,
Everything needs to be all on the up and up with G.I. Joe and bark.
yeah. Well,
Would they be the right size to put in there?
theoretically, yeah. Wait a minute.
What's the scale? Quarter scale?
1/16. I got to figure out how. Claude, how do I do this?
How do you do what?
What are you doing?
Either front camera or back camera. Probably the back
You
camera.
got it?
There we go.
Or just turn the phone around.
That's what I do.
Oh, there you go.
So there's all the stuff in there, yeah.
Man, you got a lot of stuff now.
Awesome.
And the world's smallest.
Make him big, Claude.
Say again?
Make him big. Full screen.
Hang on here. Okay. Where's
And the light works too, man. He's got little pencils.
No, the light doesn't work. And we-
Oh, okay. You
and
could
we
have just
gotta count.
lied.
Like
Look
the
at his
count.
little pencils, little coffee cup. You got more than the last time.
little spittoon? I like the spittoon there.
Is
Yeah.
that dynamite?
Nope, those are fusees.
They're flares.
Yeah,
Got flags.
To you and me,
Yeah.
they're flares.
I love it. You got
I
flags.
noticed the sledgehammer.
yeah.
How did you do the flags?
Uh-oh. It's a giant.
Whoop.
Oh, that's
I mean,
awesome.
it just looks like it's the right size for G.I. Joe.
Well, theoretically, it is.
So show them the potbelly stove there
Yeah, the stove was cool.
and the bucket of coal.
Hang on a second.
Attacking the 50-foot woman. There
Yeah, I
you
think that coffee pot looks good on there.
go. Yeah. You did a
Yeah,
really
you
good
did a
job.
really good job.
Ray Ron says you need a Z-scale caboose inside the caboose.
You think?
I don't know. That would be interesting to see what the size comparison was. That's for sure.
But yeah, the fusees are really big. They're not the torpedoes. Yeah.
Yeah, but who's going to know? Who's going to even know what they are? Not many people.
Yeah,
No,
you need to explain that because I still don't know what that is. I
Okay.
probably should since I'm modeling an era with cabooses.
Oh, and the other thing I forgot to put on my update. This thing is on a magnet, so that
Cool.
Very cool.
so it stays in place and you can swivel around.
There you go. That's a good idea.
Hey, you did a good job.
Yeah, that looks excellent. I do like the idea that somebody had about putting a Z-scale caboose in there. You could put it on the desk and make it like your conductor is a model railroader.
I could. Okay, enough of me.
It'd probably look like a G scale in there though.
Probably.
That's just a guess. I mean, I don't know if it would actually fit on the desk. It might hang off. Be
So that
interesting to know.
the potbelly stove, did you make that, Steve, or is that a
I've got
dollhouse kind of
a
thing?
potbelly that I've done. Some of them are this big, and some of them are the little tiny things. So I just stole one of them out of my potbelly collection.
Yeah,
This
it looks
is-
really cool.
Did
That
you hear
looks
him,
nice.
Bill?
You know what you
Did
can
you
do is, you put the Barbie and the Ken in there and, make it so that it's an ambiguous relationship. But then for Halloween, you could get a little thing of like Chucky and put him on the outside like he's looking in the window.
But
Hey,
how expensive Barbie Kens are now? Try to find a classic Ken doll. They're
Just
like,
make one, man. Make one.
Well, I mean, we know that Barbie really
You can
liked
make one.
G.I. Joe, not Ken. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. G.I. Joe.
some of that classic toxic masculinity that G.I. Joe has is what Barbie's after. I'm just guessing.
Yeah,
He's
especially
just saying.
1980s GI Joe, where they've got the the growth on the face, and yeah.
Dennis is just saying that because he was a GI Joe, so and definitely not a Ken type.
I think I'll just leave it that. I don't think I need a G.I. Joe in here.
Oh, well, it does. It looks really cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so Bill,
Welcome to all the new people. I see Chuck, Digger, CDP Chuck, Dan's model journey.
That Nathan.
Dan's been in here before.
Oh, by the way, Chuck, send me an email. I need to ask you a question. Just send me an email, and I'll return it with the question. But anyway,
Yeah, Sparky snuck in too. If nobody noticed that.
yeah, Sparky got in here. Nathan's here. Ron VR's here.
Good morning.
Dan's Model Railroading's here.
That's a new one.
Yeah, or at least a new name. I don't recognize the name. Well, welcome, guys. Anyway, Bill, show us what you did this week, because I know how you are. You probably did 10 times.
He's been working on trees and sipping Diet Coke.
I see.
Yeah, I need
You have a video about
Diet
trees.
Coke, and there's new trees that I'm building over on my little workbench that are going to go on the big one. But I've been working in the service area over here the past couple of weeks, so the layout is nearing completion. So let me get this off without screwing it up. So for the ON30, I've got the service area pretty well done. Got the buildings mostly set. I'm going to glue them in place, but I've got the weathering and detailing done. Got like a little water feature off over against the cliff base. Ground covers done. There's those two N scale or Z scale full-size trees that I had in my last video, but on O scale, they're perfect for, trees that have only been around for a few years. And then in here, these are both plastic kits, weathered and detailed those. I am going to put in power poles. Like this place has an electrical service, and I'm going to run that once I get everything else pretty well set so that I can have some power coming in.
Is that a Willys Jeep?
It is. This one, when I got it, it was bright and shiny, with all of the decals on. So I took one of those foam block sanding blocks to get the decals off, and it gave it a really nice weathered look for the paint.
Yeah, it looks good. I like that.
Yeah, so I ended up coming back in then and painted like the shovel and the axe, which fits in perfect for a logging layout, and then just a little bit of like iron oxide acrylic paint just to weather it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it fits in with the scene.
Now, Bill, maybe you've told us, but if you have, I've forgotten. What year do you suppose it is on your O scale layout?
It's the late 40s, early 50s.
Okay.
So yeah, post World War II. Hence, I've got some old World War II stuff that they've picked up surplus. It's still in my world, active with virgin timber in the Appalachian Mountains yet. So it's the late era for logging railroads where they were really still going pretty good.
It's like the Waltons.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So in here then, Woodland Scenics, guys playing checkers with some other figures and plaster castings that I got off eBay. Over here is one of the wagons that I got at Christmas, O scale. That's old kit somebody put together long ago. I ended up putting some of the strip wood on the sides of the wagon and cut off the back so that I've got like an old
little short wagon.
Yeah, sort of heavy duty cargo wagon that's hauling in lumber and some materials into for like construction on the layout. Over in here, again, this is like some of the World War II airplane fueling stuff that I got. I got this out here, little logging buggy kit that I just left the trucks off and the couplers. Set that there by the engine house. I've got the guys up by the crane. So I ended up putting balsa wood blocks on the base of the crane to get it up higher where I wanted it. So that's turned out pretty good. Coming across over here, I've got the ground cover is all done. What I am going to do here is I'm going to, the buildings I can take off. I'm going to build like a floor to put in here because I've got a bunch of O-scale tools, like machine shop tools. So I'll make a little machine shop that I can take this off when I take it to shows. And the floor will be there, and there'll be a guy in there working in the machine shop. And off over this way, get all the ground cover. The ballast is all done now. The water tank's in place. Got a carpenter up top working on this. So in my world, this was here first, and I've got a couple of pumps that I ordered off eBay that I'm going to put in like right here, like they were just drawing water into this. And in my world, the tank is actually newer because they couldn't get enough water into the top off of the tenders, so that they built this, hence more materials coming in so that they can get a constant water supply. And I've got Woodland Scenic, some concrete workers down doing some stuff there.
What happened?
Shannon came in and
we
brought
had
him
it,
in,
Shannon.
so.
Morning.
Hey, morning. And over here, I got the barbecue kit for like $10 at a hobby shop. I got that put in there and some additional figures. So it's like the boss driving the nice coupe came out for the day, and they're having a family picnic here in a place that he owns. So I've got them out there. Got my loading dock that I built, scratch built, a while ago. Got some stuff on it. I've got the track all cleaned. Another guy off over there.
All these little accessories, the people and everything, will they be glued down?
They are mostly. So it's like all of these guys that are freestanding have pins in their feet. I drilled the feet out so they've all got pins, so they're all pinned. Other figures like this guy, he's glued to, the crate. This guy's just sitting there. So some of them, and like stuff when I move it, I'll have to take some off, but not all.
Okay, not everything. Okay.
So if you turned your layout upside down, what percentage of all your details would fall off?
Probably 30% or less. Because I've got everything glued. I've got all of the major stuff is glued. Buildings are glued. This has been glued. These will be glued. This is glued. It'll be like the cars and like the little, garbage cans and drums. And some of those I will probably end up gluing too once I, know that's where I want them to be permanently.
Yeah, you might get tired of adding them every time you go to a show or something.
Yeah, you might. I don't know. But anyway, this is what I've been doing. So I've got this pretty well done. I did add another detail over by the cabin, but the way I've got the layouts, I can't get over to it right now. And that was just like an O-scale old hand pump. So I've just got it sitting out there. I did get another smoke unit from a hobby shop. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to take the barbecue, and I'm going to drill out, because this is that like resin, and I'm going to drill this out so I can put a smoke unit
that'd be cool.
in it so that I can occasionally have this. And I've got like 3 different smells for smoke. I've got a bacon one, and I could put the bacon there.
I was going to say something. You better put something scented in there.
Yeah, so I can put the scented bacon over here. I've got one where I could put like pine, so where the bums are burning occasionally, limbs from the pine tree. So I would have a pine smell. And then over at the cabin, I've got one that's sort of like a berry smell that actually smells like garbage, which would be perfect for a burn barrel. So,
did they have a brewery smell for the smoke? That'd be good for Claude.
They do.
They've got all kinds.
I can't think of what the name of the company is. Bill can tell us if that's what he's using, but they've got one that's beer smell.
I'll bring you over here and I'll show you, because I've got those things up here.
The problem with the beer smell is I'm afraid it'd smell like stale beer. Yeah, that's the company.
Yeah,
What's the name of them?
JT's Mega Steam.
Mega Steam, yeah.
And this
So
one's
much-
like Bayberry Holiday. This is the one that, it does smell like berries, but it also smells like garbage. So a burn barrel one is fine.
So the big
And
question.
then I've got the other ones like Christmas Pine, and then this one is like frying bacon. And I've tried them all, and they actually do smell really good. So, I'm happy with that.
So Bill, the big question: when's your next show?
Don't know yet.
Yeah.
So
You got to let us know.
yeah, I've got to start looking for them again because it's getting close. So here's more of those little trees that I showed in the last video. These are the N scale, Z scale ones. And this one I made like this batch of them just last night. But here's the N scale layout. And they would be
That's a good size. Yeah.
perfect. Perfect size for that, or Z scale for trees. These are all going to go over on the O scale layout. I know where I want to put them. And this
And
is
you
probably
just-
all the trees that are going to go.
You
on
just
the
did a video about how you made them, right?
Yeah, because these are like
Cool.
super easy to make. I did these 6 just last night in about an hour, just sitting out here listening to some music.
That's cool.
And these are going to go on the O scale, just kind of put in a couple of spots to show younger trees, and then that'll be it. So with the O scale, I really don't have much left. I'm going to this weekend finish up some details on these 2. I'm going to put some crates on the inside and the guy in because these doors are open so you can look in. Then I'm going to take the layout apart, and then I'm going to paint this area green like everything else. And then I'm going to do the tunnel liner like I did over here on that far side. I'm going to go back about a foot with the sculpt mold and finish that off. And then this layout is basically done. I'll do some more detailing and some other things, but the big work is done. The O scale will be finished.
Wow.
That's exciting.
So that's what I've been up to.
Man, that looks fantastic, Bill.
Oh, well, thank
Yeah.
you.
I can't wait to
I've
come
got
to
a
the
question
show.
for Bill.
Yes.
So you're seen there with your town, or that scene. Can you kind of walk us through how that developed? How far in advance did you have in your mind what that was going to look like when you were developing the track plan, or did it come after the track plan? Because I love scene composition, and that is a very well composed scene. And I'm just kind of wondering how did it develop from A to Z?
So it originated early on in the process, but not the immediate start of the process. Originally, this wasn't even going to be here. This was going to be more scenery, and I was planning on having like a gorge coming between the two, with some bridges and some roads going through it. But then I got looking, and I had extra switches, so it was like, okay, what can I do to kind of have some holding tracks? So I came up with this for the track configuration because that's what I had the switches for, and the track and the space. And then started to think as I was building the rest of it, what would go here? And it went from different iterations, like where the engine house now was originally going to be a log dump where I could bring in some of the cars, make it look like I had a lumber mill right where I'm sitting. And then some storage tracks. And then that gradually evolved like, hey, this is in the middle of the mountains. It's a waypoint. Maybe it should be a service area. And that's kind of how it started to evolve. Like where I've got the loading dock is where I was originally thinking the engine house was going to go. But then looking at the layout of the scenery that I'd done early is like, nah, that really doesn't fit. It fits better over here, a loading dock over there. And then started to think about what I had for buildings to kind of, how do I want to lay it out to make it look like it's a service area where it's busy. They're doing work on engines. They're taking care of cars. They're also bringing in freight for the local logging camps. So it morphed into that. Early on, the track arrangement was set. It's just what I wanted to do with it as I progressed. And you notice this was the very last thing that I did.
Right.
I knew in my mind what I wanted for the active logging area. I knew what I wanted for all the rest of the scenery as I got going. And then here it just slowly built up that based upon what I'd done everywhere else, this is what I think is going to work here to make it look, realistic, like it belongs there.
Yeah.
Very
You
cool.
did a good job, Bill, for sure.
A suggestion, Bill, would be like once you're done, do an overview of the video of your layout and explain everything for people that might not have been there from the beginning. And
Yeah, no, and that's a good idea. And you're right. I actually had planned on doing something like that. I did that on like the HO scale, where I did sort of a walkabout lessons learned kind of things that I would have done different or that I liked and how I got to there, because it is fun.
Dan says, "How dare you say your layout's done, Bill?"
Well, remember, once this one gets mostly done, everything's on wheels. It gets pulled over to this side of the garage, and then I start working on the wall, and then part of the HO layout goes in storage, and another HO layout gets built. So
yeah,
they're never done, for sure.
Actually,
But
I just
this
want to
one
jump
will
in
be
quickly. It's actually quite funny because earlier today I was going through social media, right, when you guys were obviously asleep, and I've come across one of the narrow gauge pages, and there was a screenshot from one of your videos.
Oh, cool.
And the statement said, I was looking at scenery, and then there's bills.
yeah, that's accurate.
yeah,
I was going to say there's two things that make a model railroad really stand out besides the trains themselves. It's the big scenery like he's got with the trees, and then it's all the little detail stuff.
you know, though, like the trains are like what you do it for, right? In my opinion, right? But it's everything else
Brings it to life.
that
I see.
you remember, and it's like you're always, every time somebody looks at that, they're going to see something different. They're going to see something they never saw before.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about, I think.
Yeah.
It's like everybody builds scenes into their layout. You look at different areas and you see all kinds of different things, and you walk 2 feet and you look at the same area from a different angle and you see something new.
Right.
And that's half the fun of this. We're all creating our own little worlds.
Yeah.
What we do. And, there's no right or wrong. I could have made this with a 3-rail and the same scenery, and it would look different. But, it's what we've got and what we want to work with.
Yeah.
It's like a three-dimensional painting.
Say it again, Steve.
It's like a three-dimensional painting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sure. Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's even like Steve's caboose, all the little details in his caboose, It brings that little caboose to life when you can see this inside.
Yeah, it's not just the empty thing.
Train car, yeah.
Yeah, and like with Steve's going to run it, and people are going to see it and see the entire train, and they're going to be like really impressed because it does look fantastic. But then when Steve's working on it, or it's in an area for display, and the roof is off that caboose, and people come up and look into it, it's going to be that wow factor.
Now there's a whole nother level of let's look at this.
Yeah. Because most of the trains, I'm assuming out there at Train Mountain, are not detailed on the inside. I think some of them probably are, but most of them probably aren't.
No.
And people don't go there to look inside the train. They go there to ride the trains.
Yeah.
Take ride on them.
Yeah.
But that's something that you enjoy doing, right? So you add it, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah, I used to do that kind of stuff with my airplanes. I'd try to find a picture of the plane that I was actually making, this color scheme and that sort of thing. And I found one of the last ones I did the guy had a good luck charm. It was a teddy bear that his wife or his girlfriend had given him. And he had it mounted on the top wing. It was a biplane on the top wing. And just below that teddy bear was a mirror so he could see behind him without having to turn his head around. Well, I found a little stiff bear about 2 inches tall, and I mounted him on the wing of that plane. And so I've got the picture of the guy with the bear and the little mirror, and I had my bear and I didn't have that pilot, but I had his airplane, so I had that same scene there minus the pilot. Well, that was fun to do, to try and find that stuff and make it look like that.
Yeah.
What I need
Heath just came in.
for your collection of pinups and shrink them down so that I can stick them on the wall of the caboose. But yours are too big.
Oh yeah, mine are calendar size, the ones I have.
Yeah, you need to shrink them.
Shrink them down.
I can take some pictures of them and send them to you. You can probably find the same ones online. Yeah, they're very readily available online.
Yeah, they're only PG rated. They're not like.
Yeah, they're not. No, they're not nudes.
Why are you nudes?
No, they're not.
Hey, Heath, welcome, and anybody else who just came in. Heath, yeah, you're allowed to ask questions now, but you're only good.
But we're not.
Let's limit Heath
Only
to
4.
only like 3 per.
Okay, 3, only
minute.
3. Heath, make them good.
You get 3 questions and that's it.
Yeah, that's it. They got to be good ones.
So Dennis, what have you been working on?
Well, I've got a few things that I can show that's somewhat new. Let me decouple here and figure out how to turn my camera around.
Good luck.
Hey, Dave BNSF, good morning.
Let's see, in my
Kyle
mirror.
Stevens, good morning,
I think I
Kyle
want a
Stevens.
mirror.
Yeah, Linda Purdy came in. Yeah, we're full up. We got 29 in here now. Good to see you guys. Okay, let's get Dennis over here.
Okay, so the turntable saga continues. I did a lot of work on this last weekend, and I'm happy to report that everything's copacetic. Everything's working real good. I actually hooked it up to DCC. No shorts. My scrapers are tracking real good on the what's the term for that?
The commentator.
Yeah.
Hey,
Thank
Dennis,
you.
how did the jig idea work?
That's exactly what I did. So my process is the first thing I did is I got a scrap piece of rail and I kept gradually bending it. I actually took the piece of wood that I had already cut out of here, and it worked out to where it was pretty much the exact length that I needed it to be for the table. And I just gradually bent a scrap piece of rail, until my roller on my rail bender was where I knew it needed to be. And then instead of using an 18-inch piece of rail, which is what I tried to do the first time, I used a 36-inch piece of rail. I sacrificed one of the HO standard gauge pieces of flex track I had and was able to do one complete loop. And,
Yeah, that was
and so
a better
it laid in there pretty good. It's not perfect. The circle's a little off here, and I actually built a jig to replace this so that I'd know the distance from the center of the wheel to the other center of the wheel. And you can see, the metal wheels there. And I also added that little piece of styrene because those wheels would fall out.
Yeah, that was
so
a good
now
idea.
they can't fall out, and I can take this in and out relatively easily in case I need to do maintenance, in the future.
Yeah.
But I created another jig that set the rail so I could do it in a couple of 3 or 4 different directions there and make sure that the wheels were going to roll relatively close on top of that. Now it's a little off in this area, but because the wheels will no longer fall out, everything's going to work.
Plus, your wheels are wide enough that you can kind of pick up some slop that you might have in there.
Right. Which I probably the biggest issue I had there was you're never going to get that circle of rail perfect. No matter how hard you try, at least I couldn't find any way to get it perfect all the way around because you can't bend it perfectly. I did my best, and if you could get longer than 36 inches of rail, maybe you could. I don't know.
And it's not like it doesn't really need to be perfect because it's not like the wheel flange is riding on it. You got that whole wide area,
and that's the other
to
thing.
Make contact.
I actually added a piece of styrene underneath the pedestal here that raised everything enough so that there's absolutely you're not dependent upon this rail for anything other than to stop the bridge from going too far this way or too far that way, which the instructions actually say there needs to be a little bit of a teeter-totter in there. So I think it's going to work good. And then,
in saying that, Dennis, That jig you made, are you going to use that for your birthday cake Monday?
Well, I've already got a birthday cupcake, so no, it'll just probably go back on my scrap pile until I find some other use for it.
Yeah. Gail says you're turning 30 again.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's my 13th anniversary of my 30th birthday. It might be my 23rd anniversary of my 30th birthday. I don't know. I'm terrible at math.
You could start going backwards.
This is what my goal is for this weekend is to get the bridge completed and set and ready to put on there, and then I may or may not get this painted this weekend. It's going to depends on how things go.
Hey, Dennis, Mark Pruitt wants to know what brand of turntable that is.
It was gosh, I'm going to have to step over here and
One of the real old kits, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's that one right there. Man, I know it. If I stop trying to think about it, I'll be able to tell you. But pretty much all the model is that right there in some wood. You know, it's definitely a Craftsman kit, and the instructions are, you know, when it comes to this and how that's done, that's just kind of you're on your own, dude.
Would you buy that kit again?
Do what?
Would you buy that
Would I
kit
buy it again? I mean,
knowing
if the
everything
price
that you
was
know
right
about it.
and doing it a second time would
Well,
be
yeah,
far easier than the first time.
No,
Because
so
now I know what I'm up against.
let me rephrase that question. Would you buy that kit again if you never would you recommend somebody build that kit?
If they're a good modeler, I would not discourage them from getting it if the price was right and they were looking for a challenge.
Yeah.
I'll just put it that way. But if they wanted to get something knocked out in a couple of weekends, where's my pointer? Aha! If you're wanting to get something knocked out in a couple of weekends, I would not recommend that.
That ain't happening.
That kit requires patience and maybe even a little extra
MacGyvering.
Yeah. So I've got this added in. I got all of my pink foam put back in for just a little bit of extra protection on the rails, and then I've added this, which it's not permanent yet because I still need to scratch in a boiler winch house that's going to go here somewhere, and this might get cut down, and I'm not entirely sure how all that's going to go, but that's in there, and I'm pretty happy with it. Let's see, what else have I done? I've added 2 more push buttons, so now we can go into the mine from, pardon the spin. Oh, look.
Hi, Gail.
There you go.
Hi, Gail. Where's the cupcakes?
Do what?
Where's the cupcakes?
Got to share.
They're in on the island in the house, so. But this turnout right here is the turnout that button pushes, and it will only open it. So it's, again, I'm not going to try and explain all that, but pretty much you will never foul this switch as long as you're choosing the right route through town, because that will always throw back to where it needs to be.
You're going to need a manual just to run your railroad.
No, I promise it might.
Yeah.
I know it sounds complicated when I try to
It
explain it.
does sound complicated.
Just because I'm overcomplicating the explanation. You start pushing buttons and seeing what happens, you'll find out that it's relatively intuitive. Now this is a project. What?
You're like me when you're trying to explain something, it comes out in Chinese.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is a project that I've been working on in the trailer park, and I don't know. trying to build anything on that little 2-foot table in my camper trailer is just very frustrating. So I kind of put this aside and haven't worked on it in probably 3 weeks. But I'm relatively happy with the dimensions and how it's turning out. And I think because the main thing I want to do is figure out, is this height from here to here going to work with the tenders? And I think it is. I think that's going to be just right. So I can move forward with adding more bents, because these are they're just barely glued on there, so I can take them off if I needed to. And again, you know, I've got the 3-rail in there. I'm going to have to pull the trigger and buy some track. I will probably order some track this week, and it will be Pico instead of the micro engineering, because, you know, I'm not going to find the micro engineering anytime soon. But I think that's pretty much, you know, other than doing a lot of wiring things, I've cleaned up a lot of my wiring that was just laying here and there. That video will post this next week. I'm not going to go into it here because it probably will bore most everybody anyway, because it's all about wiring. And the only other thing that I've done that you can't see is I have done a lot of work on all of my turnouts to ensure that my track work is pretty solid right now. I'm not getting any derailments anywhere, even with the 482, which is prone to derail. And you can't see it, but the 461's back there. It also is prone to derail. Pretty much all my derailments have disappeared. So,
Hey, Dennis, you mentioned Boiler's Winch House.
uh-huh.
That would be a great name for a saloon.
For a what?
A saloon.
A little cat.
Boiler's Winch House. I
Boiler's
like
Winch-
that, Steve.
That is
that
good,
might
Steve.
that might show up on my layout eventually.
That sounds like a guy named Boiler's got a girl in there or something.
Yeah, Boiler's.
Now, one of the things that I'm hoping to get started on this weekend is I've got some ideas for the scenery starting here and ending there. And I think I'm going to go through with actually doing some stuff there. Because I want this end of this street row to be, I don't know, about a ½ inch higher than that end. I'm not entirely sure what the distance or the height difference will be, but I have an idea how that's going to work. I'm going to try and work on that this weekend, and I'll film it. It will be, I don't know, probably, I can't remember where I'm at on the Silver Gulch series, but it'll be like building Silver Gulch 5 or 6, something like that. But that'll be a couple weeks away. I'm ahead by about a week of what I'm doing right now.
Do you use an airbrush when you do your spraying there?
I did on all of this. This is all airbrushed.
Well, looks good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it looks great, and it's enjoyable watching your videos with everything running. Nice, smooth, slow motion.
Yeah, that's what I've tried to do. You know, all of the running that I've done has been designed specifically to find weaknesses and seek and destroy and make them disappear.
I think what I am looking forward to in your layout build is how you fill in all those voids. Like, I just can't wrap my head around how you do that, you know?
I think it's going to be my
like all your negative area.
My plan, I believe, will be it'll be a combination of different types of scenery. I think there's going to be pedestals, so to speak, where I can attach foam to. So I'm not worried about anything beneath the track level, but if you put a wood pedestal in there where you've cut a little bit of plywood, and then you can put something on that. And I think there's going to be places where I'll have cardboard and your traditional plaster cloth,
Right.
something like that.
Now,
It will be definitely be an adventure on how I get it accomplished. But I want to use foam as much as possible because I like the idea of putting plaster on top of foam, being able to both sculpt the foam and the plaster and also plant a tree and not have to do anything crazy to get a tree to stand where you want it to stand. That's kind of where I'm at. And all that is dependent upon the terrain that I want to try and recreate.
So
I've got some pictures that I've got loaded on the computer.
Okay.
And I'm trying to find all of these things that is that what I want here, and I'm still working on that process.
Like you asked Bill, do you have a vision? Like, do you see your layout complete?
I see lots of elements in my mind that I want to try and accomplish. There's an area right here where I've got this track that's overlapping this track and going in. I want a waterfall that goes into a pool and then maybe divides and goes into two different waterfalls. So you see one as you walk into the room. And then when you look back at the scene from the other direction, like if you're standing at Silver Gulch, waiting for your train to pop out of the scenery so that you can take control of it going into Silver Gulch. If you're the guy operating Silver Gulch, you will see a waterfall from that direction. So it's a kind of this is what I see from this direction, and this is what I see from that direction. That's my idea there. Again, I have no idea if it's actually going to work, but that's what I see in my mind. And same thing with the area that is leaving Frying Pan. I have in my mind what I think that riverbank is going to look like that comes from the east end of town. That riverbank that is going to be, the trains are going to be on this side, the far side of the riverbank, so the riverbank will be closer to you. I want trees on the back side of the track, trees on the front side of the track, so that the train is playing peekaboo through the scenery as it comes through there, and there will be a bridge there as well. So I see all these things, and I know there's a lot of work involved, but that's half the fun.
Yeah, it's like I said, when I saw it, when I was there and saw it, I could kind of see what you were talking about with what you were wanting to do as scenery. And I thought it's going to look really sharp when you get finished with it. Because I know what kind of model you are. Looking at your time saver and what you did with that, and that was kind of your test bed, but you did a really good job with that. So it's going to look, the finished layout will look awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. That's why I say I'll be back. Probably more times than I need to, but
and right now, I think I could definitely operate with 3 operators right now. It wouldn't be an extensive operating session. I mean, I guess we could probably go for 2 hours and not be bored. I'm just guessing, The guy in Silver Gulch wouldn't have as much to do as the guy in Frying Pan. And of course, the guy in staging, that gets pretty repetition. If you're just creating trains out of the yard there, that's pretty repetitious and might get boring after a while. But I can also, and I haven't done it yet, where I've created just stage trains where you're just swapping out stage trains instead of building a train out of the yard. So that's something I'm gonna try and do, just to see how that works. Maybe it's a little more fun. I don't know.
Mark's interested. Mark's interested, yeah, but he'd have a pretty good drive to get down there to you.
Yeah, I think Mark's a good probably 15 hours away from me. I don't know.
Probably something close to that, yeah.
A little bit of a drive. So,
Yeah.
so Dennis, do you have a spot like on your layout right now that you're planning that's going to be where you're going to test your scenery skills? Like your very first area that you want to attack once you get started?
Not really. I think I've got an idea, like what I was, no problem. All right. I've got, like I said, I've got an idea of how I'm going to approach the height with the buildings on Blackhawk Street. And then I didn't discuss it, but the area in front of the track, I've got marked out where I'm going to go through with a router and cut out some of that plywood. And I'm going to have scenery break away from the track and try and get rid of the straight line from, the north end of town to the south end of town. All that's a straight line on plywood. As I've mentioned before, I try and get rid of all of the straight lines on the railroad. I like converging angles and things to be fluid. I think that's just more artistic, in my opinion, than track running parallel with the fascia. Yep. So that's always a goal of mine, is to make that as minimized as possible. So that is an area that definitely for the sculpting and rock work, there's going to be some of that in there. And I like the idea of having trees below track level that just peak up above the track level that you can still easily reach over. So that's probably what I'll do first, are those two things. I got to figure out the foundations of the building, because the buildings are going to have to you have to have foundations beneath the floor level, right? If you're going to have sloping scenery. And I got an idea how I'm going to do that, and I'll probably test some of it this weekend.
Well, we got, we got about 8 or 9 minutes left. What have you been doing, Shannon? Besides sleeping.
Yeah, besides sleeping. No, so obviously you guys know I'm doing NN3, and I'm starting to get a little bit of time to start doing some stuff again. So I finally got my second loco from the States about 5-6 weeks ago or something like that. And I open up the box, I'm like, oh yeah, it's all nice. But whoever built it, tell me, how many people do you think would build a brass kit and put it together with super glue?
Oh no. Oh no.
The response straight away.
There was a collective. Oh.
I spent the last few days, like you can see all the paint I had to take off.
Oh no.
To pull it apart, solder all the bits and pieces. Had to solder the cab. Like the whole thing was just put together with super glue.
How do you usually put it together?
Solder.
You solder it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, super glue it's gonna break without a doubt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like you can see the amount of work I had to go into to like try and recreate bits, because it's like what was going on here. So that's where I'm up to with that.
Did you have to pay an exorbitant price for it? I hope not.
I painted what it was worth completed, but then when I received it, it's like, oh. But it runs, which is the main thing now. I've got to convert it to DCC and then repaint it, redecal it.
That's a cool logo. What is it?
A K36.
K36.
I'm surprised that they got it to hold together at all with CA.
Well, that's the thing. Like when I handled it, I'm like, oh yeah, and then I went to go start pulling it apart to get ready for DCC, and then next thing the cab falls off. I'm like, oh, that's annoying. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, that looks like super glue. So I start grabbing everything and I'm giving it a bit of leverage, and then pop. I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah, so like the paintwork was good.
Yeah.
And the decals the guy put on, they were well put on. But a lesson for everyone: don't use super glue for brass.
No.
Where'd you buy it? eBay?
Yeah, I bought it off, kind of off eBay. The guy I bought it off, I bought the first kit off him from eBay, and then he had this one listed and asked him if you can pull it off eBay, can I pay it over like a few months? And he's like, yeah, no worries. So, yeah, that's what I've been working on. Apart from that, just been working at the shop. This year, we have 5 weekends, including this weekend, where we're staffing 2 exhibitions, train exhibitions, and staffing the shop as well. So, imagine a hobby shop going, okay, we need to split our stock 3 ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it, really.
Hey, John 26. John 26 had a question. What type of soldering iron is used for brass kits?
Soldering iron for brass kits, you just need something that's temperature controlled. Because depending on what kit you're building, like small kits like this where there's only a few parts, you just use low melt solder. But if you're building like a really large extensive kit, you want to use like a high heat soldering iron to get all the major bits together. Then a slightly cooler. Sorry, let me phrase that. You need high heat solder to put all the major pieces together, which is like, I think it's like 300 degrees Fahrenheit kind of temperature you need to melt this solder. And then you get a cooler version, which will melt at about, say, 200 degrees. And then you'll have another one that might melt at 150 degrees.
Well, I think a lot of people use a resistance soldering too.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
If you're really serious about it, that's probably what you're using is a resistance solder, which I've thought about.
Yeah. If you're doing like really big stuff, but some stuff you need is a good quality temperature controlled soldering iron. And yeah, you just, as I said, you do the major parts with the high heat. And then as you get into the smaller pieces and then into the more detailed pieces, you just go to a lower temperature solder. So that way you're not sitting there trying to heat up the whole area to try and get the heat in to get the solders to bond onto it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Well, and Jerry, you had some pictures, didn't you?
Yeah, I have some pictures. I'll show them. There's not too many. So this is, put me up there and share my screen.
There we go.
Share my screen.
There you go.
So,
and then just hit your share screen and
share. Entire screen. Yeah. Share. All right. Hide that. All right. Tell me what you see right now.
Wheel of Death. There we go.
Wheel of Death.
What do you say?
That's an interesting building. Is that a signal box?
7.
What do you say?
We see 270. Looks like an F
Oh,
unit.
all right. So that's so this is Reading and Northern. Okay. It's pronounced Reading. All right. This was the trip we went on. It was a freight and passenger trip. So what they did was they had some freight coal trains and coal gondolas and some passenger trains after that. And they would uncouple and run the freight by a couple different stops. So we started the day out here in Reading at Outer Station. This is formerly the Reading Railroad. This is mile 62. Mile 62 represents 62 miles from Philadelphia to this point. And we just went out of here. Let me make sure I'm going the right way. So this is I'll run by. So what you're not seeing is after the caboose, there were passenger cars. They left the passenger cars someplace else on the line and would run by. So this the first unit is F9A, and the next unit is a F7B. And these were formerly on the Norfolk Southern. They used to do their office trains. So we went probably 100 miles or more. It was all day. No, wrong one.
Happy birthday!
Dennis,
Happy birthday, Dan. Happy birthday, Dan. That was a thumbnail, but let me go back.
That is a cool station right there too. That'd be a good
That is-
model
Yeah.
project.
That
It's
is.
it's a pretty awesome little station, and
I love the
tell you, man, the Reading
levels of height in the track. That's cool.
and Northern really does an awesome job on their stuff. They have a couple steam engines, and you'd see a steam engine
And
in the
where is this located?
Reading, Pennsylvania.
Reading, Pennsylvania.
It's
Okay.
about it's 62 miles from Philadelphia. It's like how would I put it? It's by Allentown. I don't know if you know Allentown,
I'm
Pennsylvania.
familiar with the
Bethlehem.
song.
Say again? Oh yeah, and we're living
I'm
here now.
familiar with the Billy Joel song.
So this is still sitting at the station. Just my friend built these photos, and it's just looking back. There's just a couple more. This is at Port Clinton. This is I don't know how many miles from Reading Station it is, outer station, but it's a good little ride. This is where they pretty much say again.
I was wondering the lights just above the pilot there. Are those prototypical, or is that something that was added as a new standard? I'm just curious because I don't recognize those.
No, they're ditch
Like
lights.
something- Yeah, the ditch lights. Does anybody know?
They have,
That
they're
added
required.
them probably. Yeah. So North
Yeah, I can't say
Southern
I've
used
ever
to-
seen F units with ditch lights like that
You know,
before.
up until I don't know exactly when, but not long ago, Norfolk Southern ran these on their office train cars, so they have to be up to
Right.
standard to run on the railroad. So yeah.
It's
So
beautiful.
I'm guessing, it is, and it was beautiful before. It was the green, Norfolk Southern green and white, I guess it is. That classic Southern green, and that's what they were before. So, and you can see the passenger cars past that caboose in the back. Another shot from Port Clinton. A lot of activity, a lot of people. There were probably like 200 people on the train. So, yeah, it was a great day. You can kind of see the whole train together. There were beside that open car, which is right after the caboose, there were 3 or 4 passenger coaches, and then another unit, power unit, just a GP38, to pull it back the other way. Another shot just in the woods. It's just the only thing that we really didn't like about the photo stops weren't decorated, but they just picked some not great spots. But it was a good day, man. The train ran nice. It was really cool, and that's it. That's all my photos from it.
Well, we are over time, so but yeah, those are great photos. And somebody was saying, Happy Valley Hobbies was saying the ditch lights are a new thing, which I had never seen a ditch
I
lights.
figured it was, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah,
It's not anything I'm really familiar with. F units.
no,
Yeah, I never
You
remember
wouldn't see
seeing
that.
those.
Yeah, no, all
Yeah.
photos I've seen of F units, never seen it. So
no. Again,
anyway,
and it's
yeah,
just
we're,
because they were running them.
We're a few
yeah,
minutes
it
over
must be
already,
new
so-
rules and regulations to make it pass so they can run mainline and insurances and all that
Yes.
kit and caboodle.
It has to be compliant.
Thanks for coming,
Good stuff.
guys. We got to get off of here.
Thanks,
I'm
everybody.
gonna go to bed.
On
I'm
the
at work
house,
in the
we had a
morning.
full house today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will see you guys next week. Have a good weekend and a good week. And we'll
Take care, everybody.
see you next weekend. Bye-bye.